Hello, my name is Jelena Relic and I'm Magnetic International Trainer and Ambassador for the Balkan region. Today I will show you a placement of the nail form and advanced fitting. This is very important because the nail form is a base of making nails. So if you place your form in a correct manner, your nail will be perfect. If you place your form in a bad manner, the next step, the application of the product, will be 2 times harder, and then the next step even harder. So the placement of the form is a very important task. First we will do a proper steps of preparation of the natural nail. Of course, using the hand disinfect. And go over your hands, not nails. After that we will clean our metal implement with nail cleanser. And we will spray our nail with the nail cleanser. Pushing back the cuticles and wiping the excess of nail cleanser. After that I will use a blue boomerang 220-240 for preparation of the natural nail. We want to make the natural nail just matte, so don't overfile it. We always file the natural nail in one direction. We don't want to overfile it. Wipe the dust. And for cuticle area, you can use a cuticle bit, and with very gentle movements, you can remove the skin. Next step is very important. We want to remove completely the free edge of the natural nail. If we don't do that, the nail form will go under the natural nail, the free edge of the natural nail, and we will not be able to put the form up if it's needed. Also, if we don't remove the natural nail, when we pinch the nail, the product will imprint in the extension edge of the natural nail, and that can be a breaking point for every artificial nail. When you are removing the natural nail, please keep your file at the angle of 45 degrees, because in this case you are making a place for your form. And clean the nail again with the nail cleanser. When you remove the dust from the nail, please wipe the rest of the finger, because if there is an excess of dust on the nail, the form will not fit perfectly. I'm taking the form. As you can see, this is a competition form. I choose this form because the shape of her natural nail is a little bit curved as the opening of this nail form. I will of course use nail form support, which I pre-cut it before, and I will place it on my nail form. When we are placing the nail form support, it's very important not to go too deep into the opening, because when you cut the smile line, these parts here will not be sticky, and we need this so it can properly stuck to the finger of our client. So I will go a couple of millimeters below the opening of the smile line, and I will make it completely flat. Before I start cutting the smile line of the nail form, I will check the shape of the natural nail. The form has to fit perfectly to her nail, and for that I'm using half moon scissor, and I'm cutting according to the shape of her natural nail. In this case, I will go a little bit deeper inside of the smile line, because as you can see, her nail is a little bit deeper on the sides. I want to fit my smile line of the form completely to the smile line of her natural nail. I will make it flat again and choose a pinching stick according to the size of her nail. When we are choosing the correct pinching stick, I will always check the width of her natural nail. We don't want a pinching stick to be wider than her nail, but also we don't want a pinching stick to be much narrower than her natural nail. So we are choosing the correct size. After choosing the correct size, I will just make my form round. When I'm making it round, I don't want to put it too much inside, because then the whole nail can be a little bit inside. I just want to adjust it to fit the natural nail. And I'm putting it in the position I would like it to be. And then I'm looking where do I have to cut my smile line. If you look at this example here, you will see that I have a small gap still on the sides of the nail. That means that my nail form has to be more cut into a V shape because it has to go a little bit deeper on the sides. So I will just cut it a little bit inside. Now it's a perfect fit. You can see that the form goes completely until the smile line of the natural nail. The next step is looking at the width of the finger. Some of the clients has a very wide finger, so if you leave your nail form like this and you close it down, what will happen is that the form will open at these sides here. This is why we have to cut our nail form sometimes here so we can pre-pinch our nail. I place a form, I'm looking from the sides and I'm counting lines. Lines will be our guidelines always. So I'm counting 1, 2, 3 from the left side and 1, 2, 3 from the right side, and I will cut my form there. I always start where the natural nail, the side lines is over. I go a little bit at the angle of 45 degrees and I connect it with the rest of the nail form. I do the same on the other side. 1, 2, 3. I cut it at the angle of 45 degrees and I'm connecting it with the sideline of the natural nail. Making it curve again. While I'm placing the form, I'm checking the middle line of the nail form. That's the line where you can see S, M, and L letters. This line has to be in parallel with the middle line of the finger. That's the line that goes straight through the finger. In this way, your nail will always be perfectly straight. I place my form, I glue my tabs, and I always release the lower tabs towards me or towards the ceiling, never down, because then your form goes down. I'm checking from the side if this is direction of my nail form. Please have in mind that when we close the form will go a little bit up. So the direction of the form is still not the real direction. So I check my direction, I put my pinching stick and I'm checking the apex. We all know how high the apex will be. That's the highest point of the nail and it's approximately 2 to 2.5 millimeters. So I'm putting my pinching stick and I am looking how my nail will go from the natural nail and if the direction of the nail form is good. I'm also checking the direction of my nail form. The line of the nail form has to go through the line of the natural nail and finger to be sure that our nail will be completely straight. Then I'm using the same stick, the same size I already used. So I close the upper tabs and I close the lower tabs. Please be sure that your nail form is completely straight here so that the tabs are not rotated. If the tabs are rotated, the whole nail will be rotated at the end when you finish. After I glue my tabs, I leave my stick inside and I'm gluing the lower tabs and pulling my stick a little bit up while I'm pulling the nail form down. When I'm closing the nail form, please be aware that your fingers are always straight. If you hold it like this, one side will always be lower than the other side. Depending on the form of the nail we want to make will depend how much we will pinch our nail form. If we have to pinch a nail form much more, let's say for Russian almond or any pinched shape, you have to use a smaller and smaller and smaller stick, gradually making the nail form much more narrow. Now I'm taking one size smaller and I'm making my nail form more tapered. The reason I make my form more tapered in this area here is that when I look from above, I don't want to see the sides of the nail form. If this happens, that means that when we apply a product, our nail will be much wider here and we have to pinch much harder or we have to overfile it. So the position of the nail form depends on the length of the artificial nail. If the artificial nail is shorter, our nail form has to be more up. If the artificial nail is much longer, like in this case, the nail form doesn't go so up. The reason is next. If your nail form is too much down, when you make your nail, the whole nail will have an appearance of going down. And the opposite. If your nail is very long and your nail form is up, then the whole nail will look like it's literally flying out from the finger. So the position of the form and the way you put it up or down will always depend, of course, of the shape, but also of the length of the artificial nail. If it ever happens that the client has a completely straight smile line, in that case we can use salon nail forms that has a little bit less curved smile line, or we can also cut a normal form by cutting the lines straight and making our smile line completely flat. So if you have a very high hyponychium or a very thick natural nail and you have to put your nail form against it, you have to be very careful how do you cut your nail form. First, I will cut, of course, the smile line according to the smile line of the natural nail. I will make it curved with the right size of pinching stick, and I will try my form. Sometimes, like with this client, you can see that her tissue here is very high and you can't place a form that has a little residue of metal from the side because it is going inside of her skin. So what I will do, I will cut the corners from the metal and try my form. After I fit my smile line, I will check the position of the nail form from the side. So if it's going enough up or down, depending on the shape and the length of the natural nail. After that, I will put my form against the natural nail. It's okay if the form is going a little bit above the nail, but it is not good if the nail form is completely under the nail, because then it will pull your form completely down. So this is how we apply a form against the nail. You can put it a little bit under the corners here, but in the middle it has to go above the nail or against the natural nail. Check from the side. Again, count the lines. And with this nail, I will cut it a little bit deeper again. I cut it straight and then I make it round. Be careful not to cut it too deep, because then the nail form will become very weak at this point. Make it straight again, and now it is very important to remove the small pikes here because they are very sharp, and if we have a high hyponychium and we want to place the form under the nail, we have to remove the small pikes, otherwise we can hurt the hyponychium of the client. Now it's ready. I'm using the correct size of pinching stick to make it a little bit round. I'm placing it under the nail, and before I glue it to the finger. I'm checking one more time my sides, and I can see that this side is a little bit longer, so I will remove this part. Have in mind that it's very important that you fit your form perfectly with every nail, as then the application of the product and filing, everything will be much easier. I'm checking the position of the middle line. I will glue my upper tabs. I remove my fingers. I'm putting my pinching stick, gluing upper tabs and gluing lower tabs, being really careful that they are not rotated. Then I put the same size of the pinching stick again. The same size of pinching stick, and I'm closing my nail form from down. After that, I will use again a smaller size and close it again. If your nail, you can see now that the finger popped up. If your nail form became less stable because you cut too deep, and you have to cut because your finger of your client is very thick, then we will use the tabs that stayed on the nail form after we glue the nail form support, and we will reinforce our nail form from the side. And now your nail form will be much stronger and much more stable, and you can work without any problems. After we apply the form, we have to make it a little bit more straight from the sides, because if the form is too oval, when you apply your product on the sides, it will always look a little bit thicker and we will have to pinch it much more. But if we make our form a little bit more straight from the side, it will be much easier to get a tapered and perfect nail. We can also use in this purpose a pinching stick, but be aware that you hold your form and make the sidelines of the form straight. I'm checking my form from the front view, and if I see these corners of the nail's form popping up from the natural nail, I will make it a little bit more tapered with my fingers, but always with straight movements, because if you make the movements like this, your nail form will be not even, and then your nail will not be perfect. When you're touching your nail form going down, don't push the whole nail form inside of the nail, because then the client can feel the pressure on heel. Just make it straight. Also, a very important thing that can be a guideline for the direction of your nail form, those are the upper tabs. If the upper tabs are separated, that means that your form is going really up. If your tabs are very close to each other, that means that your form goes down. That is why before you glue your nail form, you have to check where your upper tabs are. For a very short nail, let's say that they should be open 1.5 centimeter, so the distance should be 1.5 to 2 centimeters, and for very long nail, it's around 1 centimeter. This was my explanation about nail form placement for perfect fit on every nail and on difficult nails. I hope you like it, and I hope you can be able to use it.